Hey YouTube, this is Aytsch. What? Yeah, you heard right. This is not Sheriff talking here, it's Aytsch, and I'm here to tell you something about the helicopter. Now you might ask yourself, what qualifies me to tell you something about the chopper? Well, I'm flying chopper public and competitive since Battlefield 2, and in Battlefield 3 I'm one of the top 50 pilots in the world, and I really got a lot of things to tell you, and what's most important, you can rely on them. On this point, I'd like to thank Sheriff for all the work he's put into this guide and for the platform he gives me to share my knowledge around the chopper. 5 parts are so far planned. This is the first one. We decided to put in this part everything about which is the best way to control the chopper, what's going on in the HUD, and yeah, what setup is the best to fly around and be most effective with the chopper. Before we start and get really deep into this chopper thing, I'd like to give you a little advice. Everything you see here is the result from lots of hours of training, and just take it easy, it's just a game. And if something doesn't work as you thought it would work, it's just a matter of time. And if you stick to the advices I give you here, I promise you're gonna be a good pilot. So enjoy it, and I hope I can help you a little bit with all the stuff I tell you here. Okay, enough of small talk, let's get started, and the first thing I'd like to talk about is which way is the best to control the chopper. Yeah, it's usually up to you, but I'd like to give you the advice that you use mouse and keyboard combination, because you have all the benefits, like a very easy to control free look in the cockpit, which is really helpful in many situations. Just like if you try to spot some enemies or keep an eye on a jet which is trying to shoot you down and something like that. If you decide to choose other devices to control the chopper, just as a pure keyboard control, or you use a controller of some console to handle the chopper, you don't have really good performance on the free look especially, and the handling of the chopper is not really as good as if you control it with mouse and keyboard combination. So if you have the possibility to use a mouse and keyboard combination, it's really better to use it, because you have all the benefits and no disadvantages I ever heard about. Another point I'd really like to talk about concerning the general controls around the chopper is mouse sensitivity. This is gonna be a little bit tricky, because mouse sensitivity is a really individual value. The best advice I can give you concerning the mouse sensitivity is if it feels right, it is right in the most cases. But I think it's much easier, especially for those who just begin to fly, that they lower the sensitivity, which is given to them by standard just a little bit, so the chopper doesn't react that heavy if you move the mouse in the wrong direction maybe. So you always have the possibility to correct your flight. And if you still want to know which settings me or Sheriff has set in the chopper, just take a look in the description below. There are some screenshots of Sheriff's and mine setup, so you can maybe improve your own. Okay, the next thing I'd like to talk about is the HUD, or heads-up display. It shows several numbers, figures, everything is changing all the time, and some are really helpful, some are only there to keep up a little bit of reality. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about those who are really helpful. One of the most important figures that are shown there in the HUD is related altitude. It's displayed in the little box on the upper right side of your HUD, and it shows your altitude related to the ground you're flying over. It's important to know at which altitude you're flying, because you cannot fly any maneuver at any altitude. Or it's also displaying if you fly below radar or not. If you fly below radar, which is limited to 25 foot, and if you get below these 25 foot, the color of the numbers in the box change from green to red. So if you see red numbers on the upper right side, you know you're flying below radar, and no heat seeker based lock-on system of any vehicle can lock you. For instance, anti-air or enemy chopper or enemy jet can't lock you if you fly below 25 foot. But don't forget, Stingers still can. Below radar hasn't any effect on foot soldiers targeting you with heat-seeking systems. Also laser-based lock-on systems such as the Soflan Javelin combination are not affected by the below radar function at all. They still can lock you at any altitude. So keeping the chopper all the time below these 25 foot is not an available option, because you're not really safe, and there are some other possibilities you have. I'm gonna tell you about them mainly in the next part of our guide. For sure the most important tool displayed in the HUD is the I-beam. The I-beam in combination with the crosshair helps you hitting targets with your rocket pods while moving, by showing more or less the point of freehold. Especially on far distances or while heavy movement, its help is really necessary. So it's a very useful tool, and we're gonna show you in the next part of the guide how to use it correctly. But for now, just keep in mind this one is really important. The last tool I'd really like to mention here is the gunner box, or the so-called gunner box, because I don't know any better name for it. The little square in this box displays where your gunner or pilot is looking at the moment. This is really helpful if you try to communicate with each other, so the pilot can say, for instance, anti-air 12 o'clock, and then the gunner knows exactly where 12 o'clock is, so he just has to take a look on the gunner box and then knows, okay, there's 12 o'clock. There's our target to fight. Okay, let's talk about the right equipment in the chopper. There is not one set of equipment which always fits. You always have to set the right equipment for the right situation, which is not easy all the time. So we're gonna get through this step by step. I'm gonna start with pilot's first slot and continue then to the gunner's third slot and everything in between. My favorite for the pilot's first slot is definitely the guided rockets. You can unlock this perk at 51,000 points, and what it basically does is it pimps your rocket pods. So what this perk basically does is correcting the flight of your rocket pods a little bit, only a little bit. So you only recognize the effect clearly if you shoot on far distances. But it's really there, and it's really helpful, especially for ranged fights. And you're gonna see it in the videos that I hit targets all across the map with the rocket pods, and this is why. This perk is really helping. Without it I wouldn't hit that good. But if you really get stressed in the air by jets, or you're flying with a Havoc with these tiny little windows you can't really look through, it's maybe sometimes better to set the air radar instead of the rocket pods. This depends clearly on the situation, and what it basically does is giving you all the information about aerial activities around you in a range of 600 meters. Air radar is unlocked at 9,000 points, and you should definitely equip it if you don't have the guided rockets yet. A little disadvantage is nothing what happens on the ground is displayed on the air radar. So if I have the choice, I always stick to the rocket pods, because a zoomed out minimap is, in my eyes, even more effective than the air radar, because you can see air and ground activity at the same time. But you have to keep your aerial targets spotted so as the ground targets, if you want to see them on your minimap, if you don't want to get some sort of surprise visits. For the second slot of the pilot, I prefer the ECM jammer. I know some of you prefer the flares because they are 100% reliable concerning heat-seeking rockets, but there are some disadvantages about the flares I'm gonna come clear about in the end of the second part of our Heli guide, and there I'm gonna explain as well how the ECM really works and how to use it so it's even more effective than the flares. So just keep in mind, ECM jammer is the right choice. The second guide is not far away. The third slot for the pilot is quite easy to explain. There's only one possibility given. It's heat-seeking rockets. They're good, they work, just use them. But use them the right way. And how this works is explained in the third part of the guide. So that's about it for the pilot. Now it's time for the gunner. The gunner should set stealth in the first slot of his setup, because stealth really works great in the combination with the ECM jammer. If you combine these two perks, you even push the benefits of the ECM jammer to a maximum. What I exactly mean with that will be explained in the next part of the chopper guide. But just keep in mind, if you use ECM jammer, the gunner has to set stealth. The second slot for the gunner is again a little bit tricky to choose, because it depends on situation and flight style, which equipment is the best for you. because if you are sort of defensive flyer or the situation forces you into defensive flight, then you should definitely set the zoom optics as gunner. They are already unlocked at 4400 points and they allow you to fight targets which are more than 1000 meters away from you, and you still hit them like you're standing next to them. The other opportunity is that the situation allows it that you fly a little bit more aggressive, so your gunner can set the thermal optics. The thermal optics are unlocked at 25,000 points and they grant your gunner some sort of X-ray view. The entire map is displayed on a black and white screen and everything is displayed in dark grey colors except for the enemies and enemy vehicles, which are shining bright as snow and are so easy to see and to hit that it's gonna rain kills. Slot 3 is definitely gonna be the TV rocket. Compared to the other options, it's just by far the best. It's the most powerful weapon in Battlefield 3 in my eyes, and you can hit everything with it. Everything. You can one-hit a jet, you can two-hit a tank, and it destroys just everything. So, if you don't know how to use the TV rocket by now, it's really highly recommended to get the necessary 60,000 points and to get used to this really powerful weapon. And if you know how to use it, you're gonna be the king of the server. I promise. I must admit, not everything about the TV rocket is just good. It has one big disadvantage. It's the most buggy thing in the entire Battlefield. So much hits which didn't count or didn't register or something like that. Let me show you a little bit. These are only a few clips of what can happen if you hit a target with your TV rocket. Enjoy it.
Oh.
So that was about it with the first part of our Attackhelicopter guide. I hope you liked it, you could learn a little bit. I know this is more basic stuff, not for the advanced pilots, which most of you should be, but I promise the next parts will bring a little more information which is new to every one of you. We're gonna deal with attacking ground targets, how to use the ECM the right way, and such stuff. It's gonna be great, I promise. So what we got left here is a little video of me and my gunner going crazy on Caspian border. Enjoy it, like it, subscribe if you really like it, and I hope we're meeting each other again in the second part. See ya!